We only have 3 months left of 2024, so this is a great time to set yourself up for success in 2025. During these last 3 months, you can make really amazing changes and create such a solid foundation for yourself by choosing one thing to really focus on and prioritize. Stick around because today I'm diving into how choosing one priority can be such a game changer and how to implement that into your life. I'm going to go over why choosing one thing matters, how to choose that one thing, and how to make that thing your priority over the next 3 months. At the beginning and throughout this year, you probably had so many goals and aspirations, but then life gets busy, life gets hectic, we get pulled in so many different directions. And when you spread yourself too thin, it's easy to get overwhelmed and stuck in a cycle of a lot of busyness without any real progress. We can make really great changes when our focus or energy is far more potent in one direction. So while our natural instinct may be to want to do all the things, recognize that often less is more, especially because this tends to be such a busy time of year. There are likely going to be so many more things pulling on our time and attention than usual. I totally understand if your brain is sitting there and saying, but I want to do this and I want to work on that and I want to improve this. And it's not that everything's just getting left, on the wayside, on the back burner, but we can choose one thing that we are really going to focus on, that we're really going to put more energy on. And with having just one thing to truly prioritize, you will see such a difference. So how do we choose what that one thing is? It may already be really obvious to you. You may already know this is the thing that I know I want to prioritize right now. This is the thing that matters to me to really make changes in at this time. But if your brain is currently like, okay, I have these list of things that I want to change. I have this list of aspirations. I'm not really sure which one I want to make my one thing. So let's break this down. Think about all the things that you have goals around, all the things that you have aspirations around. It doesn't have to be anything that is a very specific goal necessarily. People get real caught up on that word, but anything that you have intentions, ideas, or aspirations around changing or working on or working toward. And this can be in any area of life. And think about what you'd like to focus on in 2025. And with everything that came to mind, everything that you wrote down, which one is the most meaningful, impactful, exciting, and reasonable to you? So we're going to go through this together. Let's say I have all these things on my I'd like to prioritize list, but this is the one I care about the most right now, and I know will help set me up for success in 2025. This doesn't mean that I don't put any effort toward the others or throw them out the window, but this is the one that I'll be prioritizing above all the others. So again, with your list, you are just looking at and thinking about, out of all of these things, with where I'm at in life right now, in this season of life, which one is really meaningful, is going to be very impactful, sounds exciting, and again, works with where I'm at in my life right now. So we have our one thing. Now we're going to make a game plan for how we're going to make this a priority in our lives over the next 3 months. And just as a side note, when I say priority, I don't mean that we are leaving things like our family and our career and our health or other things that are very important to our lives to the side or on the back burner. But with those important things in place, we're looking at what is one thing for ourselves that we can really make a priority right now. So back to the game plan, there are 4 parts to this game plan. Part 1 is, in order to make changes in our lives, we have to find ways to keep things top of mind. If we want to break out of our typical patterns and habits, if we want to create a change, if we want to keep up with forward momentum, we have to keep it top of mind. Otherwise, it's just way too easy for it to go into the back burner, fall to the wayside, and our brain just be so focused on all the other things going on in our lives. So with what you're choosing to make your priority, with what you're choosing to say, this is what I'm going all in on for the next 3 months, how can we keep that top of mind? There are so many different ways that we can do this. You can make a vision board. You can find a way to make it the center of your life in a healthy way. You can hire a coach. You can have sticky notes. You can have something on your to-do list that surrounds it every single day. You can have a voice note that you listen to. You can have something in your notes app that you read every single morning. It can be whatever. And so let's say with my example of having healthier eating habits, I make a vision board all about having healthier habits, looking healthy, feeling healthy, healthy recipes, feeling good, having fun with healthier food, stuff like that. And to be honest, I know myself and I get bored of things pretty easily, and just in general, our brain, if we get used to seeing something, it just doesn't have quite the same impact. So I would probably sit there and make a new one every few weeks just to feel re-inspired and to kind of bring that excited energy towards that goal over and over again. I'd also think about why this is important to you, why it means something to you, how it helps give you some outcomes that you want, how it will help give you the type of life that you want or help you be the type of person that you want to be, and write that down and have it be something that you look at very often on a very regular basis. This will help remind your brain, oh, hey, this is something that's really important to me, and here's why. So part 1, find a way to keep it top of mind. Part 2 is getting clarity on the actions. Get clear on what prioritizing this thing would look like on a day-to-day and week-to-week basis. Often we probably jump to the most ideal scenario. In my healthy eating scenario, that probably looks like eating really clean or eating perfectly. If you can envision what the stereotype of that could look like. Maybe in my head that means only eating what I envision as super healthy foods 24/7 and not letting myself fall off track from that. But 1, it's pretty unlikely that I'm going to successfully make that jump. And 2, as someone who lives a very healthy lifestyle, who prioritizes her health, who is very educated on these things, and has helped others with their fitness and nutrition for over 6 years, that's just not necessary. While in this hypothetical situation, I may have that in my head as being the ideal scenario, what I'm aiming for. Often those very ideal or perfectionistic visions of something that we have in our head aren't what we actually need to do in order to make something happen, in order to get whatever it is that we really want. But back to taking action, write down the daily or weekly actions involved in this thing that you're choosing to prioritize and get specific. The more specific you can get, the easier it will be for your brain to actually follow through with those actions. And to help set yourself up for success and not accidentally set up expectations that lie too far on the extreme end of things for yourself, what you can do is list out, okay, what is the ideal vision that I have in my head around this thing right now? And then write out where you're currently at within this area of life. And then find, okay, so I have the ideal, I have where I'm currently at. What is the middle ground here? And that might be the best thing for you to aim for. Part 3 is implementation, having a plan for how and when you're actually going to do these things. So that may look like looking at your calendar and going ahead and plugging some actions into your calendar. That may be thinking about the current routines that you currently have and thinking about when you can insert some of these actions into those current routines. And the last part to this game plan is planning for challenges. So every single week when I work with clients, something that we go over is obstacle anticipation. Basically, what can you anticipate being an obstacle to you following through with these actions? Can you already anticipate yourself falling off the wagon? And if so, what would create that scenario? And what would you want yourself to do in those scenarios? Really sit there and think about what kind of thoughts, feelings, or life circumstances might happen that would pull you away from prioritizing this thing. After you write all this down, plan for how you can minimize the odds of those things happening and or how you can navigate them when they do happen. You might have so many ideas or things that you want to work on and change, but I promise that putting more of your energy in one direction can make such a big difference. Your brain may feel stubborn and not want to, but that's okay. You don't have to live by an arbitrary thought that your brain had. And know that doing something new or something outside of your current norm can freak the brain out, and it may try to pull you back to what's comfortable and what's familiar, because At the end of the day, the brain just wants to keep you safe and help you feel secure. That's just the brain doing what it's wired to do. But you can recognize when that's happening and when you're starting to fall in very familiar patterns for you and decide, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to let myself be uncomfortable and I'm going to make this decision or show up in this way instead. Play around with what prioritizing something means to you and how you can show up to fully prioritizing this thing over the next 3 months. Your brain might be coming up with all the excuses of why right now is not the best time to do this, but just because you have those thoughts doesn't mean any of them are true. I've really found that working on things during this time of year can be really beneficial because it helps keep some structure and can help us keep some healthier habits in our lives. And it really lays such a great foundation for ourselves as we move into the next year. Even if it doesn't look perfect, just working on it can really create such an amazing landing point for really jumping off and taking off when the new year arrives. And if you're ready to dive deeper into making progress on your goals and aspirations, don't forget to check out my other videos or sign up for my newsletter in the description below. Thanks so much for watching.